So many of us are on the pursuit of peace, trying to track down that final rest. On our tombstones and in our graveyards, we have the letters RIP, rest in peace. We have this understanding that we can't finally be at true rest until we leave this troubled earth. And yet, our faith offers something more. Jesus promises us peace here and now. Despite what we see on the news, online, all over social media, on the lips of our friends and family members, we hear the opposite of peace: fear, anxiety, depression, despair. And yet Jesus comes and stands and he offers us more. On the night of that first Easter, the disciples are hiding out of fear that they also will be crucified. Jesus comes and he stands and he says, "Peace be with you." And this word peace comes from the Hebrew word shalom, which means total well-being. It's a state of being that this life simply can't offer. It's a permanent disposition where we live in the reality that God always has the victory. So anytime we become overcome by current events or overwhelmed by the rejection of God in our culture, we live in the rejection of the resurrection. And Jesus here gives us the ingredients to living in a lasting peace. You must focus on the empty tomb. Many will have us believe that the resurrection is just an unfounded hope, just a mere opinion. And yet we believe that the resurrection is a fact of history. There was a Jewish historian named Josephus who was a contemporary of Jesus, and he wrote about the fact that Jesus of Nazareth was this great teacher, healer, miracle worker, that the Jewish hierarchy hated him. They plotted to have him killed, and finally the Romans crucified him. But he also writes in his history book that on the third day after his death, the disciples come to his tomb and they find it to be empty. And this is unanimous across all of history, that we never found Jesus' body after he died. And many will have us believe that simply the disciples stole the body and nobody ever found out. But there's a few reasons why this simply cannot be the case. First, we hear in Matthew 27, verse 65, that Pilate places a Roman guard in front of Jesus' tomb. And a Roman guard is 4 highly trained Roman soldiers, really the equivalent to our modern-day Navy SEALs. So these fishermen, these peasants would have had to get to the tomb, mug, beat up these Navy SEALs, and then the next obstacle occurs. They have to move this 6 to 8 foot rock, which weighed as much as a modern-day car. They'd have to roll it away, take the body, hide it, bury it, do something with it, and then spend the rest of their lives telling the lie that Jesus rose from the dead. And then one final piece. All of them but John die for the lie. Isn't it more plausible that Jesus actually did rise from the dead and that he offered the disciples this true and lasting peace, this permanent disposition that God always has the victory? The proof is in the martyrs. Proof is in the saints. The resurrection is real. It's a fact of history. Jesus delivers the ever-relevant and all-important message for our times. In John 16, verse 33, Jesus says, "In the world you will find trouble, but take courage. I have conquered the world." Today, Jesus stands in your upper room, which may be locked out of fear or discouragement. He stands and his message is crystal clear. His suffering, his beating, his scourging, those nails that went through his hands and feet, that spear that went through his side, your fears and anxieties and worries and depressions, your despair, and even death itself could not defeat him. The resurrection is real, so never doubt and don't be afraid. Because in our fear, Jesus stands in victory, and the peace he gives, it's unshakable.